So far, the PC Engine has had a surprisingly effective run of wrestling video games. Okay, not all of them, we've had some real stinkers too. But the platform has been in the right place at the right time as people figured out how to make wrestling video games interesting. I found Taito's Champion Pro Wrestler to be an odd halfway step. It's a big improvement over the style of wrestling games that was common before, but it also has some really significant issues that prevent it from reaching greatness. Champion Wrestler was originally an arcade game, and it was Taito's first wrestling game. The impression I have is that the arcade game wasn't a major success for Taito, but it does have its fans. On the PC Engine, it came through mostly intact. A few special events for certain wrestlers have been dropped. You no longer have the little victory scenes that show your winning wrestler living in the lap of luxury while the loser becomes destitute. And then there's small gameplay changes. And unfortunately, those gameplay changes kind of ruin everything. But to understand it, you first have to know how to play. In Champion Wrestler, you pick from a roster of 8 wrestlers, and you'll immediately notice that one of your options is Roston. That's the barbarian hero from the game Roston, whose name wasn't Roston. But I guess this is a Frankenstein situation where everyone conflates the title with the most important character. After you pick the wrestler, you engage in a series of one-on-one matches with every other wrestler, and then after you successfully defend your title against the last one, you have a battle against a final super wrestler who isn't included in that roster. There are tag team matches, but they are solely multiplayer affairs. You'll have to get some friends over to do those. In a match, buttons 1 and 2 each do a different set of moves, and what you do will depend on what direction you're pressing when you hit the button. Button 2 winds up getting used for kicks, and button 1 gets used more for grapples, but moves are spread out between the buttons. Also, the different characters have a pretty wide moveset. Yet everybody does the same kick, but the grapple moves are different. So the wrestlers all have some pretty distinct personalities. The effectiveness of most of your moves is governed by the power meter. And there we get into the first really significant problem with Champion Wrestler. The power meter moves up a tiny amount every time you push a different direction on the D-pad. That means to build up the power meter so that you can be effective, you need to just go wild pushing a ton of different directions. In the PC Engine version, you both build up meter more slowly, and it goes away much more quickly than in the arcade version. On the PC Engine, the meter goes from full to nothing in 2 seconds. In the arcade, it took over twice as long to drain away. As a result, you have to be constantly hammering that D-pad in directions. I wound up only recording about 20 minutes of this game because it was hurting me so much. Now you might go, if you're constantly flailing on the D-pad, doesn't that prevent you from pulling off moves easily? And yes it does. If that meter isn't at least halfway up, odds are your move won't work at all. And so when it comes time to perform a move, you've got to stop building the meter and then pressing the button that you actually want and hit the button. It is a recipe for constant mistakes. Making things worse, you do significantly less damage in the PC Engine version, especially when the meter isn't built up, and every wrestler regains health over time. Naturally, the computer opponents have this boosted, and it's boosted so high that it feels nearly impossible to hurt some characters. So you gotta go crazy to the point of actually hurting yourself, and I mean you the player, physically, in order to do any damage at all, and then you watch all of that damage come back. Now if you do get into a situation where you want to pin the opponent, you do that by pressing both buttons 1 and 2 simultaneously. And I mean simultaneously. If you're a little bit off, then you activate the move that's on that button instead. There's a few other small, unpleasant quirks here, like how some animations seem to pull wrestlers around the ring. But really, the method of building the power meter and the absolutely absurd way that damage is handled are the 2 big problems with Champion Wrestler. However, there are a couple of small features that are nice. 2 of the wrestlers have managers that will help them out. One by stalking the edge of the ring and interfering with their opponents, and the other by providing folding chairs that you can beat your opponent with. Well, unless their opponent knocks them over and steals that chair. Champion Wrestler did manage to get a sequel. It went straight to the PlayStation in 1996. The game is still sprite-based, and unfortunately, Roston does not return. The PC Engine version of Champion Wrestler doesn't seem to have been especially popular in Japan. This is another case where my video is likely going to wind up being the most popular video online about it. That's never a good situation for a game to be in. I did find people who mentioned that they enjoyed playing it after school with their friends, and a few who complained about how the power meter worked. I find Champion Wrestler to be a bit frustrating because it's 80% of the way to a good game. But that last 20%, ugh. If the power meter was something that built slowly over time and then went away after you activated a move, and if there wasn't the stamina recovery, then I think Champion Wrestler would be a pretty entertaining game. But you do have to hammer that D-pad, and your opponents very quickly regenerate. Champion Wrestler winds up being both physically painful and frustrating. There was potential here, but it didn't fulfill it.